Welcome to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Xolo, the operating system of the solo economy. Every week, we'll be serving up an audio cocktail of expert tips, inspired insights, and stories from the frontiers of freelancing to help you grow your borderless business to new heights and live life on your own terms. So kick back, grab a snack, and let's get started. In today's episode, we take a deep dive into the world of tech recruiting, because who better than a recruiter to help us understand what's been going on within the tech industry generally, both for employees and freelancers. 2022 was a really strange time in the tech sector, and things changed so drastically from the start of the year to the end that it was time to try and peer into the future, if we dare, and think about what might be coming down the track in 2023. I think you'll find Levin's insights really useful, whether or not you work in the technology sector, or whether you maybe freelance in a range of different industries and related areas, but we all use technology, and there's an awful lot of funding that goes into solving technological problems. I think you'll also find this interview quite optimistic if you are working in tech, because it has been such a strange time. Yet somebody who deals with the data around recruitment actually has a great deal of optimism to share about the future, and some great advice about how to prepare yourself and market yourself and communicate your value in this changed world. So kick back and have a good listen. You might want to get in touch with Levin if this is your area. I'll put all his contact details into the show notes for you. But as I say, even if you don't consider yourself a tech freelancer, I think there's huge value here in Levin's insight as a recruiter as to how hirers are thinking, what they're looking for, what kind of return on investment they expect in the forthcoming period, and where the money is going into in terms of hiring and funding new solutions to some of the world's big problems. So enjoy. So Levin, thank you very much for joining us here on the Future Is Freelance.
Hi, Maya. Pleasure to be here. Very excited for what's to come. And hello to the audience.
Fantastic. Well, before we dive into the important things we're going to talk about today, we really like to start with learning a little bit more about our guests. So could you tell us a bit more about your own career journey and your experience of freelancing or working with freelancers?
Yeah, sure. I'm Levin. I'm co-founder and CEO of a talent marketplace called MVP Match. We are disrupting traditional tech recruiting by bringing data and expert knowledge to the process, essentially making it way easier for companies to find the talent that they really need, and for talent to find jobs that really suit them and enable them to build a successful and fulfilling career. I have not been an engineer or designer in the past. I have had a small career as a product manager. I originally studied business economics and then went on to start a career in energy finance in Mexico. Met somebody there that became later my co-founder. And when I came back to Germany in 2016, late 2016, we started building digital products and ventures together. I fell in love with the art of product building first, and then I think, or the science of product building, however you want to call that, and then the science of venture building. And really found myself in that. And after helping to build up a product and venture builder, and helping up to build a talent pool for that product and venture builder, and also a software solution to manage that talent pool, I then co-founded MVP Match as an organic next step, being frustrated with the ways talent and companies would find each other in the world. And here I am 2.5 years later, roughly, a bit more.
Fantastic. It's a great story, and what a time to be doing this kind of work, because it's been a strange time for tech, hasn't it? Over the last year, we saw it was like a boom at the beginning of the year, and people were fending off recruiters. I remember people were writing in their LinkedIn profile, "No recruiters, please leave me alone." And then by the end of 2022, we were seeing layoffs everywhere and devastating changes related to so many different factors. Do you think the worst is over? If we're going to release this episode at the beginning of 2023, is the upheaval done, do you think? Will things chill out, or is there more to come?
It's so tough to say, right? I think I recently listened to somebody say who was, I think, around his 90s and had over 60 years in business. And he said, there was never a tougher time for me to predict what's going to happen. And I would agree. That being said, my very personal opinion is that it's probably not over yet. I think that there will be more layoffs coming also in the tech space. I don't think we've had rock bottom yet. I think consumer sentiment will probably darken a little bit, and what we've seen in consumer sentiment will still need to cascade down into B2B. And so I think overall, the next 4 to 5, 6 quarters are probably going to be still painful for many companies out there. That being said, and I want to be very clear in saying, everybody out there, right, who has been affected by these layoffs, it's terrible, it's sad, it's frustrating, it's you have every right to mourn now and be angry at your former employers and all that. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. So especially in the tech space, what we are seeing, there is still huge demand for talent out there. The macroeconomic factors are in favor of whoever is working in design, product engineering, et cetera, involved in building digital products. And it's just that this demand, I think, for talent is now coming from different angles.
That's super interesting. So what is going to happen to all those laid off people then? Are they going to freelance? Are they going to come together and start new enterprises? What are these different angles? Let's dig into that a bit.
Good question, right? I've unfortunately not had the chance to speak to many people that have been affected by the layoffs yet. And I think we are a little bit early in the process to say what exactly will happen. I have, though, had some people already tell me, like, yeah, I'm going to go into and explore the freelance world now. And the last crisis, 2020 was a crisis for sure, but a very, very short one, right? And the last crisis that we had was 2008. And that's essentially where the freelance revolution started, right? That's where so many people then started to move into the freelance world. And I'm very certain that this will be just another push. And even more people will try this out. I also believe that companies over the next 6 to 12 months are probably going to open up a lot more and use freelancers a lot more than they did previously. I think this, all in all, will be an effect in favor of such companies. But it's also a great time to build, right? So the funding environment in the seed stage is still amazing, and I truly believe that it's a tremendously good time now to think about new opportunities, to be heads down and build something, and iterate on your product, and then be there when the next bull market happens, and thrive. And we've seen many companies grow and be founded in crises, right? Like I think Airbnb and so on have all been built in the 2008 crisis and a few others. So good time to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, that's a great reminder that for anybody listening and wondering where we're at now, just a reminder that these things are cyclical. The technology changes and the macroeconomic environment changes, but we have been around the block before, right? We've seen the world go in and out of crisis. We've seen Europe go in and out of economic crisis. We still need technology. We still need new developments. And as you said, out of the embers of the flames of destruction have often come some really interesting startups. So, yeah, I think from the freelancing market, you're absolutely right. There's going to be more people out there. Will that create more competition among existing freelancers? Should people be concerned?
At the moment, I have to say yes. There's just, at the moment, I can be very clear, and like there's less opportunity at the moment, and there's lots of amazing talent currently on the market. So if you're a company hiring, this is a great moment for you. That being said, I believe, as said, like the macroeconomic factors play in favor of talent, and now we just see a little bit of a migration from talent from one company to the next, and demand coming from maybe areas where it hasn't been coming from before, or certain industries, and I think this will probably settle around, let's say, Q2 of 2023, and then I think. It's definitely a good place to be a freelancer. Now, what I would also want to say is, if you've been affected by the recent layoffs, right, being a freelancer or not, and you're now thinking about, hey, should I actually maybe do my own venture or something, or should I move into freelance? I would definitely say yes, right? Because technology as such will play such an important factor in tackling the many challenges that we face in the world, from a climate crisis to problems with supply chain to a hunger crisis, essentially, and many, many more things where technology can help. And as said, like there's still a lot of money in the market to be deployed for great ideas. The seed stage environment is strong, so if you're thinking about it, rather go for it and don't wait. It's an amazing experience, I can confirm, as a founder. So that is great, but also working as a freelancer and helping such ideas get off the ground, right? That's also amazing, and it's a great time to sharpen your profile and get into the depth of it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So you mentioned a few industries there a few problems that we need the industries to tackle. So in terms of things that we should all be keeping on our radar then for the time ahead, obviously climate change. So that's sort of life sciences, biotech. What kind of places are likely to be funding and hiring to solve these big problems that the world has?
At the moment, anything that somehow has an impact on climate, sustainability, green tech, logistics, supply chains. Those are the things that are top of my mind right now. There's more, right? There are many new areas at the moment. Anything energy related, if you're getting into that, there's lots of funding available there. Food security, and food technology, very relevant right now. Looking at the data, the funding in later stage series has gone down definitely, but in seed stage, investors are continuing as they were. They're a little bit more surgical, but still, if you have a great idea, great team, there will be.
So will the funding work in the same way that people are used to, though, with people making these long bets on the big problems? Or do you think there'll be more of a push to showing profit rather than growth sooner in seed round?
In seed rounds, it's typically not so relevant. So in the seed round, you typically do not have any data to show, right? And or not much data. And it's much more about the team and the market opportunity, the size of the market, the potential margins, gross margins that are in there, right? And which obviously offer then potential to reach profitability soon, and some other macroeconomic factors. But typically, I think investors are very aware that at this stage, things might turn out to be completely different, and they want the team to be able to pivot. And then at later stages, I would say like series A, B, C, that is when profitability becomes much, much more important.
Yeah, I just wonder how we're going to avoid this idea of growth and then layoffs in the future, and whether there's going to be a tighter funding environment for the next round of big ideas. And hopefully, as you say, the bull market will return and things will improve. I'm wondering about the non-developer people, though, because obviously that kind of business agility takes a different kind of thinking, not just technologists. And what do you think about opportunities for people to work in the next wave of technology, but not necessarily as developers? Storytellers like me, accounts people, marketing, business intelligence. What are going to be the key skills that freelancers might be thinking about now in order to take advantage of that future growth?
I think the key skill to adopt for you as a freelancer is a growth mindset, a strong focus on experimentation, and a really, really strong focus on outcomes and not activity. So what we definitely see for successful companies and the big names out there, what they are looking for is they want people who have been exposed ideally to hypergrowth environments previously, delivering results at rapid pace, a classic get stuff done attitude, really identifying problems to be solved within the organization, ideally the toughest problem possible, and taking extreme ownership of it, regardless if it's part of your job description or not. And I think that's where freelancers can excel, because oftentimes they come in and do things outside of their job description. And then be really focused on outcomes. Activity is not important. What matters really is what you is the bottom line, right? What you can produce as outcomes. And the way to get there, and what companies are looking for, is this experimentation mindset. So have goals, then set a very, very clear focus on how to reach these goals. You can't do everything, right? But what are the top 2-3 hypotheses that you want to test? Design experiments to test these hypotheses, gather data, right? During the experiments, be able to, and that's again a skill, be able to derive insights from the data and then repeat that over and over again. But that's, I think, this mindset and skill also to run these experiments, to be laser focused, to be able to generate data, derive insights from the data, and then repeat based on that. That is, I think, the most fundamental skill for, especially in marketing, especially in design, especially in product, and any other, let's say, non-tech roles that are somehow involved in the digital space. I think super.
That's so interesting, and it chimes in very tightly with the revolution we've seen in the way people are working in distributed teams in different locations, that idea of being data-driven and outcome-driven, to be able to demonstrate your worth in terms of achievements rather than time served or showing up. These are the things that will be rewarded in future. I'm wondering whether we're going to see more of a blended workforce in future. And a lot of these companies that are laying off great swathes of people, and obviously that work is still going to need to be done in the future and as they expand. Do you think that these big tech companies are going to be wanting to hire people 100% as employees again and recreate those liabilities, which have cost some of them dearly? Or do you think we'll see more freelancers in the big tech environments working alongside? And when I say alongside, they might obviously be distributed, but working in roles alongside the permanent employers. Do you think that's something that we're going to see more of as this new year unfolds?
I think there's 3 ways to look at this. So maybe very, very short term. Yeah. So very short term, big tech companies already have a share of freelance of over 50% in many cases today. And I don't see that changing, right? So there might be short-term effects of some layoffs, and especially freelancers can be affected because it's just easier to let them go. And but that being said, in general, I think the trend is pro freelance, especially in these big tech companies. In the midterm, I think there will be push from society saying that the contract model, right, does not fit with, let's say, the welfare states, especially in, let's say, in Europe, for example, right, where everybody's paying into social security and health insurance and so on, but these freelancers don't, and yet at the same time they're often earning a lot of money. And so, how do we get that together? That's, I think. So I think there will be some push from society there that may impact this in a way that actually some of these freelancers, which are essentially full-time contractors at the moment, right? They're working as if a perm employee would work, but they're just in a different employment model. I think that may lead to some companies maybe wanting to bring people that are freelance into perm employment roles. And now we come to point 3, long-term view. I think long-term, we won't have a differentiation between freelance or permanent employment anymore. Right. There will be people that are jumping from project to project to project, and there will be people that are more in love with the company and stay a little bit more long-term, but that has nothing to do with their contractual relationship anymore, right? So yes, okay, maybe you will have certain things there, but essentially, this differentiation between freelance and perm, I think it will fade. It's already fading away, right? We've been talking about full-time contractors. We've been talking about people that are maybe working in permanent employment relationships, but then still switching jobs every year, every 1.5 years.
Yeah.
What's the difference then, really, right? And so I think over time, this will just go away. And we will not be talking about freelance or perm anymore, but we will be talking about how much flexibility do you want in your job? How often do you want to change? Do you want to pick your working time, working hours, and working place? And then companies and roles will have to adapt to that. And whether that's then perm and freelance, I don't know.
Yeah, that's so interesting to really see it as much more of a continuum, and maybe the far end of that continuum, the kind of job career for life, barely exists anymore, certainly not in the modern tech sector. People just don't work like that. People move from one project to another, even if it's over a period of years. So I think that opens up a lot of middle ground then for freelancers and solopreneurs to be quite creative and intentional about what they want. And I think there are a lot of people maybe need to really think about the lifestyle they want, the location, and who would be the best person to do that kind of work for, and then really go out and find it. Are you feeling inspired about your own freelance future? Maybe nurturing a business idea of your own, which could create the lifestyle of your dreams? Xolo is the perfect place to bring those dreams to life with an intuitive tech stack and business support suite designed around what every freelancer needs. Whether you want a quick and easy way to raise an invoice or an EU-based, fully featured private limited company of your own, Xolo is the place to take care of your back office admin in just 10 minutes a day, so you can concentrate on transforming your vision into reality. Visit Xolo.io, that's Xolo with an X, or check out the link in your show notes for our latest offers.
That might be one approach, or just try things out, right?
Yeah.
And learn by doing, because I think like you can put a lot of effort into thinking about what you really, really want, but then I think oftentimes you don't know what you want at all. In my case, for example, as I said, I started my career in energy finance, and I thought this would be my happy place, and I realized maybe it wasn't really. But would I have thought that a career in tech and product management and so on was actually what I wanted? No. And it was complete coincidence that I went in there. And I think there's many people out there that can tell a similar story. You just have to try. You have to experiment. You have to embrace change, right? And then you will find what you're looking for. And oftentimes, I also have to say, I think the company as such, or the industry, doesn't really matter, right? What matters is, why are you doing this? So what's the mission? And then most importantly, what's the team and the group of people that you're doing it with? Yes. And then there's so many cool ideas and things that you can do, right? Yeah. And obviously you want to have success, and maybe monetary success and career success from that. But it's not so important what that particular idea or industry or company really is. It's much more about this specific environment. And you will notice throughout your career, and then you can co-create that. And all of the people that now have been laid off, right? Maybe they take some of their coworkers with them, right? That's generally how it happens anyway. So you take your team with you, like this 2, 3, 4 people I can work with really well. And maybe we start a company together, or we team up as a small freelancer unit and we come into companies and we head there. Or we go and look for a job together again, because we know together we function, and this is kind of the particular stage that we're good at, and then we move to something else.
That's brilliant. And I really think that's a really important idea there, to kind of embrace the experimentation without being too committed to the outcome. to let the results unfold and then see where that takes you. And it might be somewhere unexpected. I started off 2022, 100% written journalism, and then ended up spending most of the year podcasting. So that's very much in the same space in future of work, but I hadn't expected that. And working on this show was the best thing that happened to me all year. So yeah, I do think having that open mind is going to unlock a lot of doors. I think that's the big mindset stuff. But on the practical front, for freelancers now, what can people be doing to optimize their success of attracting the attention of the big tech firms as a freelancer, even as a potential long-term contractor? What would you recommend somebody who just needs more work now and wants to put those skills to work?
Yeah. So I think maybe chiming in a little bit on what I said previously, right? Like your first step would be you want to get into that interview, right? And so how do you get into that interview? And again, what companies really care about is results. And they want to understand exactly what you did previously. So ideally, what you can show when you draft your CV, be really clear, be really concise. Don't do a multi-page, 250 words per page CV. Really concise bullets. What did you do? Not what was happening overall on the project. What did you do in particular? And what results did you achieve, right? Or what were the results that were achieved by your team as a result of that work? Be really, really clear on that. Then play with, so big companies love big logos and testimonials. It sounds so stupid, but it sells. Yeah. So if you have worked for a big company, put the logo on the CV. Right. Add a testimonial from your previous manager or something that highlights quickly, right? Why you have been great in what you did, and then once you're in that interview stage, really again clearly and concisely communicate what you did, what the results were, right? And then ask questions around what problems do they have, get to know the client and focus on that problem. And if you come in prepared and you've already identified a problem with that particular company or so on, and you are proposing a solution, regardless of whether the solution is the best, if you come in like that, you show ownership and you show proactivity. That's what companies are looking for. So and then apart from that, if you're starting your freelance career, I can also wholeheartedly say, go and get an entity. It makes working with freelancers a lot easier. And I can also say, if you want help in building your CV and starting that journey, Match is a great place to start. We can help you build your profile, right? Understand your strengths are and your preferences, and then connect you to the right companies.
Brilliant. So get your business entity with Xolo first. We can help you with that. And then take that to Match to polish up your profile and make sure that you're matching exactly what employers are looking for, or hirers or contractors. And that's circling back to something you mentioned earlier about the changes that we really need in the regulatory framework and the fiscal policies to catch up with the ability to hire the right people to do the right work from anywhere in the world. Obviously, having an Estonian resident business is one solution, but do you think there's anything more that freelancers can be doing to make themselves attractive to people hiring distributed teams to work internationally? What can people do to make themselves really accessible for that?
I think one thing that many of our customers are looking for without knowing exactly is the ability to work in remote environments. And I think there's various ways of how you can do that, right? So when I started working remotely back in 2017, the technology, the infrastructure, but also the mindset wasn't as collaborative, right? We were working with Jira. We were obviously doing classic sprint rituals and scrum rituals where we would refine tickets and do groomings and do sprint plannings and so on.
And lots of synchronous communication then, and coming together in daily sprints.
It was fairly asynchronous already back then.
Okay, that's good.
The communication would happen within tickets, right, in comments and so on. And that is all good and fine, and it works. But there was already a lot of back then. There was a lot of we would do this planning, and then people would do their work, right? And you would run through the tickets and you would execute, and then you would hand over maybe the ticket to QA, and that was at the end of the journey. But today, what I see happening is a shift in mindset, right? To become much more proactive in how you work, when you work, what are you doing at that point in time? Are you available? Are you at your desk? So work is happening asynchronously, but a lot more fast-paced and less that you meet on a daily, right? And then you talk a little bit about that, and then for the rest of the day, nobody knows what you're doing, right? But actually, you engage a lot more in conversations. You maybe have brief chats with your coworkers over Slack, and then you send voice notes, right? You make people much more aware about problems that you're seeing. You maybe do pair programming sessions together if you're an engineer. You hop on a call to just discuss something in Miro. It's becoming much more collaborative. And even though we are now taking away the asynchronous work of updating each other a lot more into tools that help us along the way, the collaboration through remote work comes back, right? And that I really, really enjoy, and the creative work, right? And I think being able to work in such an environment, not be the lone wolf and not be just heads down and execute, but getting involved and being very transparent around what you're working on, what dependencies are with other people. And I think that is a skill that lots of companies are looking for. And if you can prove that you've been doing that, how you can collaborate across your team, but then also across the organization, and how you can go outside of the usual responsibilities of your role. I think that is something that most companies will like and will lead to success for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. So as a freelancer, you do still have to be an all-rounder in the sense that you need to demonstrate those collaboration skills, that comfort with making your work visible and working out loud, and being in touch with the team while at the same time delivering results that you own.
Especially as a freelancer, because you're coming in, you need to soak up a lot of knowledge, right?
Yes.
And most companies, let's be honest here, are not prepared for that, right? Most companies don't have these super smooth onboarding processes and very work being broken down into actionable chunks, and let's say the architecture of how they do things created in such a way that it's easy for somebody to just come in, understand it, and have impact. So you will need to be super collaborative. You need to build relationships with your coworkers. You need to have chit chat with them, right? And have them open up. You need to create accountability among them, build relationships to gather info, to maybe open up ways that have not been there before. Super, super important, especially as a freelancer.
Yes, I think, as usual, freelancers have to be the all-rounders, but it gives you so much choice, so much flexibility, so much satisfaction when it does go well. And of course, if it doesn't, then there's the next gig. So that's why we believe that the future is freelance. Even with big organizations and structures, it's a collaboration of individuals, ultimately, whatever their contract status, of being able to work together and deliver together and create something new. And as you mentioned earlier in the show, to really solve these big problems that the world is facing. Yeah. None of these things are going to be solved by individuals. No, it's all going to take collaboration. So
the ideas don't matter. It's the team that in the end executed, right? This is what the idea of what Match has been built up on. There's so many great ideas out there. There's so many visionaries, but ultimately it needs visionaries and builders to come together to create this better future for us. And oftentimes the two don't find each other, and then great ideas fail, and that's sad.
Yeah, so we've got to do a better job of this then in the future. And as you pointed out, we do have the tools. I mean, the one thing that the pandemic crisis and the remote revolution brought us was this explosion in collaboration platforms and software. So we need people to be putting them to work wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing. There are ways to have visible workflow and project-driven activities to be able to work across time zones, synchronously or asynchronously, and really get to grips with this big stuff, whether you're living as a digital nomad or sitting on an island somewhere, whether you're in a co-working in Europe, wherever you are, you can contribute to solving this stuff. So it feels to me, Levin, that we're ending on a reasonably optimistic note here for the future. I know it's very dangerous predicting the future, as you already said, but should we be positive?
Yeah, absolutely. All reason to be positive. To everybody out there who maybe at this point can't think positively, you have all reason to be frustrated and to be sad. And the times are not easy at the moment. Yeah, political situation in the world, potential war, some areas of the world affected by war, and I think lots of reasons to be anxious and afraid and so on. But overall, I think history has told us that these things shall pass, right? And there will be better times ahead. And especially in downturns, it's a great time to think about who you are, what you want to do, and where you want to go. And even if you have maybe lost your job right now, this is a great opportunity to maybe find something new. And trust me, the next door will open and something great will come at you. And I'm feeling very, very positive about what's to come. Yeah, the basis for so many amazing things is here, and I feel that come 2 to 3 years time, we will think completely differently.
Fantastic. Well, that's a beautiful note to wrap up on. In the meanwhile, Levin, as people are making these plans, where can they get in touch with you and your business and the services you can offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm available on LinkedIn and try to keep up with my inbox there to the best of my capabilities. And of course, if you are interested in starting a freelance career in the technology space, you can find our company MVP Match at mvpmatch.com. Or follow us on LinkedIn as well. We also have a LinkedIn presence. And feel free to get in touch with either me or my colleagues. And we'll be looking forward to hear from you, guide you through that process, and help you find your next big step in your career. And
Fantastic. Well, thank you ever so much for sharing that wisdom and that positivity, and for joining us on the Future Is Freelance.
Maya, it was such a pleasure. Great chatting with you a little bit, and looking forward to hear where this episode goes soon.
You've been listening to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Xolo.io, who offer compliance, taxation, invoicing, and admin solutions for fiercely independent solopreneurs across the globe. From simply getting paid to launching a full EU-based limited company, Xolo has you covered, thanks to Estonian e-residency and a superb suite of streamlined business software. If you enjoyed the show, please like, rate, and comment, and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts.